This video introduces the asba project. This project was born in 2022 in the north of Italy in collaboration with two important museums of Milan. One is an artistic museum and the other is a scientific one in history of natural history, history of science, and so on. We decided to run this project is a very interdisciplinary project in order to test if and how actually museums, different kind of museums, can be used in order to improve the well-being of people and to help different kind of people and different targets to improve their health and their well-being. As already stated, this project is implemented in two different museums. One is the National Gallery of Modern Art, and the other is a Natural History Museum, both located in Milan. They are two public museums that we are very thankful to these museums to have opened their space to us. We decided to use a very simple method, but a method that was already used in other research in order to test the effects of treatments. So we decided to have a pre-post design. We evaluated before the treatment the state anxiety level using the state scale, a very well-known scale standardized to measure the changes in state anxiety. And then after the treatment, we evaluated the same level using the same scale. So we obtain in this way a very precise measure of the anxiety level before the treatment and the anxiety level after the treatment. And this is the same for all treatments. So visual thinking strategies, mindfulness, art therapy, and so on. Since we have collected, or we are going to collect, because at the moment we just finished the mindfulness sessions and the art therapy session, but we are going to complete in the next future of the project by implementing the other methods we have described in our research protocol. So beyond the main variable, that is the state anxiety level, we also used other measures using visual analog scales on some psychological variables in order to test if beyond anxiety, we could detect also changes in more subjective variables like self-perceived stress, mood, or other particular emotion or cognitive parameters that was easier to test using a visual analog scales than a standardized scale like the STAI, because we also needed to meet the requirements of people that was there for the treatment. Even if they knew perfectly that they were participating in a study, in a research, they also wanted to enjoy the situation, and we wanted to have an ecological setting, something that was really similar to real life world instead of an experimental setting that was much easier to think to implement, but we thought to be less useful. Useless. It was useful for museums and for the citizens, for the community we work in, and so on. So we obtain results in changes between anxiety level and other psychological level. Beyond this state evaluation, state evaluation, we also obtain a measure about more stable, and so a trait about our participants. In fact, before coming to the museums, they all participants were delivered with some psychological scales like the trait anxiety scale, the perceived stress scale, and also a module with personal parameters like how many times they go to a museum, an art museum, a scientific museum, how they consider themselves about science, about art, and so on. And so we collected a lot of information about participants also on long terms. So we had the possibility to analyze our data, not only considering pre and post experiment, pre and post treatment, but also consider the stable characteristics. Another important fact is that we used um, a setting, a study setting that was previously tested in a pilot study and was approved by an ethical board that guaranteed also the statistical power of our study. So I think that our methods are simple but sound enough to test our hypothesis about the role that museums, independent of the content, can play in improving and sustaining people's well-being and health. Thank you.
For our study in the museum, we used different techniques to improve our visitors' well-being. In this case, I will tell you something more about mindfulness technique and art therapy. Mindfulness technique is a meditation technique with very ancient roots. So thanks to the guidance of an expert mindfulness teacher, visitors are asked to close their eyes and to focus their attention to different parts of their body or to their breath and to the piece of art they have in front of them. By simplifying the request to the cognitive system, practitioners experience many benefits, and nowadays this technique is very much used both in the clinical context and outside the clinical context. Art therapy is another very interesting technique since it can be used bypassing the verbal channel. In fact, it is based on artistic expression, such as painting, for example, and it is considered such as transformative experience. In our study, visitors are asked to walk in the museum and choose a detail they really liked, for example, a piece of art or a diorama or a small detail. Then they are proposed to draw using different colors and materials, following their emotions and the instruction of the teacher. We believe that the results of our study are particularly promising, since with both techniques, anxiety levels and perceived stress proved to be reduced.
Next steps now are to complete our collecting data collection, and we are going to start in September with the visual thinking strategies, and we hope to finish the data collection in the first semester of 2024. We are publishing our data and we are divulgating our data in order to share with the scientific community, but also with other museums, with stakeholders, with different institutions that probably would use our data in order to implement, to plan future actions, future research, but also future programs in order to let museums in real life, in their real activity, to be useful, to be active in helping people to improve and sustain their well-being, and also to improve the way the museums can meet the citizens' requirements, the people requirements, not only to expose, to display items, scientific items or artistic items, but also to help people to sustain, to feel better, to feel good. Another step that is very important for us is to expand, to extend our settings in order to include other aims, other goals. For example, we'd like to study the potential effect on creativity and of specific learning aims of our treatments. And in this sense, we are going to extend our study also to kids, to school pupils and the students in order to understand how we can use students to feel better in a school setting, to also to sustain the improvement, to sustain critical thinking, creativity, and so to mix creativity and well-being in a very virtuous way. Another important step is to lead a study about how museums professionals, how people working in museums can exploit the power of the place they work in order to feel better, to manage stress, and so on. So we are going to do a lot of things to extend our study, and we hope you enjoyed this video. And if you are interested, please contact us. We are very prone to share our results, our methods, and we would like to extend our network collaboration in order to include different museums, different research institutes, and also different experiences coming from different countries and so on. Okay, thank you very much for your attention.